Now we're
for
on
sure.
the Say token, which
It's
I
insane. It's a dollar. It touched what, $1.04, $1.04, almost $1.05. Jesus.
and I apologize to the stream. We were going to pump this after the stream when we moved back to the Discord. So my apologies. The time schedules got mixed up. But no, this has been one of the craziest things I've seen and traded in a long time, because this is like reminds me back of like 2017 levels, and this is like one of the big things that like I tore up in Q4, and people keep asking me, "Oh, thank you so much for pointing out Say. I'd never heard about it to you." And I keep telling the people like I didn't know about Say. I just know one of my most trusted guys in like the circle that I trust was talking about it, and I remember you talking about it, and I was like, I haven't heard 9K talk about something in this tone in a while, because you're Moonshot in general, and like your group, your guys are always getting into stuff. Half the stuff I don't even know how to purchase, and then this one came up, and the tone was very, very different. So I know I've heard you tell the story on a Twitter space, but I was wondering if you could walk us through how you guys kind of came into this one, because this one's evolved into a side project that we'll touch on next.
Yeah. I mean, definitely was sitting through the bear market for quite a while, as with everyone else, and when I realized that the ETF thing was is that's that's the trade. I mean, I made a little bit of money in the beginning of 2023. I think coming out of the 20K break, and there was a nice bounce on the equities market on everything in 2020, or in like the January period of 2023. And then I sold in like May. I believed in the sell in May, walk away thing. And then I learned about the Bitcoin ETF, and I was very hesitant about it. I wanted to make sure it was real. And then once we broke out of the 30K range, that was it. I was like, okay, we're going for this. And I started preparing all my money, all the fiat, all the stable coins I have. I was getting it ready as like this might be like the rally. And I didn't know what to buy. I was out of the game for a while because I was just like trading random meme coins for a while, um, and it was like chucking $1,000 here or there. It was not very big swings until this ETF thing, and I realized, okay, if this is legitimate, and even if it's not, it's enough of a narrative to get people involved, and it's probably going to bring speculation on the shit coins. And I want to be making sure I got exposure, and so I started getting back into the crypto, like the more popular like centralized exchange coins. And I didn't know where to start, so I just said, let's just bet on stuff that I'm familiar with, and I started buying all this Uni and Curve, and I mean you can probably still see it on my chart here. I mean my list, excuse me, my list here: Litecoin, EOS, even. And I was like, I don't know what to do, so I just bought this stuff based on what I thought the chart looked good, and I got my feet wet, and I said, okay, now I gotta like find like an edge, like actually new shit, shit that doesn't have bag holders from the prior cycle, stuff that was raised in the bear and is going live for the first time. And so I started assembling a list, and cryptorank.io, that's the site I came across because I was trying to find investing information, tokenomics information. Highly recommend that site, cryptorank.io. And I use that to have a quick at a glance of like the funds that back the various projects. Started like sifting through the most recent like big funded coins by Coinbase Ventures or Multicoin, any sort of big VCs, and then checking when their lock schedule is, then looking through their narrative, and really narrowing it down to just a handful. And that ended up being like Celestia, Sui, Say, um, and then a bunch of random shit like Maverick and Next. And that was all occurring between late October and November. Did a lot of hunting through a bunch of all these theses to Moonshot Discord. Shout out to the Moonshot fam, and that's one of the important things, to make sure you've got an alpha group with you, that some pretty good guys that are gonna actually help crowdsource and do some due diligence for you. So definitely help in that regard to further vet some of these thesis coins. And
We can go ahead
and
and say
yeah,
his name. Shout out to Malvin for going
yeah.
like
Shout out to Malvins.
full on. He went from the news guy to because he always had the latest and greatest happening news now, to just full on damn near a private detective, like on some of these coins and what they were doing, and it was
Yeah,
like cool to see that evolve.
which is I mean that is exactly what being in a closed circle, a tight knit group is all about. And so yeah, shout out to Malvin's. And I hope for other users seeing like this crowdsourced like research going on like in real time at and just talking between each
Thank
other
you for the
on
ice
these
cream.
channels.
Gang,
I
gang,
mean, that
gang.
should be one of the best sort of learning methods for people in the space, where they are seeing how the logic and the research is happening. So ended up with these handful of coins, and so I started trying to check my network and vet these coins. And I had one guy that I was following me on Twitter, and we had a mutual contacts. I've never spoke with them, but we had mutual contacts. But he was an angel investor in Say token, so I just DM'd him. I was like, in crypto language, I was like, "Good coin, sir." And I didn't expect him to respond, but he did. He responded 2 days later, and he gave me a big shill of why he bought the Say token, or why he invested in Say. And it just made sense, and it basically validated to me that this was a good investment. And I think he included some subtle alpha in there, which helped kind of swing it in the decision into actually buying a whole big bag of Say. And yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it to go to a dollar immediately, but I figured, if Ethereum Classic could be the value of like equivalent value would be like $1.30 for market cap per se, then we can certainly get to a dollar at some point. But then at the time I was looking at the chart, and I think it was like down here, it was like right before this pump here. I think this pump was from the Circle USDC announcement. I think it was right the day before. That's when I bought and shilled it to Moonshot. And I was like, I'm buying this thing. And I figured, there's also a lot of FUD on it. The fact that it's a tier one back coin by like Jump, who makes big market making volume, GSR, and then you had like Coinbase Ventures, and it was featured on Binance Labs or something at some point. And so it had a lot of big players behind it, but then it was fudded like crazy about like the shitty airdrop that they did, and everybody sold their airdrops and dumped it all the way down. And I was like, well, this looks great, And when you have that much FUD, but that much tier one backing, and the vesting schedule is still locked till like mid late next year, then I was like, this is probably a window of opportunity, because we get this uptrend. It's starting to form this cup, right? And I was like, yeah, let's buy some. And I get this, affirmation from this contact, and I just said, I'm gonna make this probably 50% of my bag at the time. I mean, ended up being way bigger now because it just exploded in value. But at the time, I was like, I'm gonna go and keep buying and buying and buying until I make 50% of my portfolio, say. And here we are. It worked out. It was a very, very good gamble, but it was an educated gamble. And that's the things you got to do, man. You got to do your own research. Like literally, I was doing my own research and then vetting it by crowdsourcing stuff, and also vetting it by asking people in your network to affirm, if you can get a little bit of edge on why it's worthwhile to hold these coins, instead of just, listening to some random um, CT influencer.
Oh, I've lost so
So
much money doing that, thinking, oh, he's got a hundred
everybody has.
thousand, and then you're like, oh no, he's a sellout, and he took a bribe, and then no, absolutely, thank you for doing that, because this is like kind of trying to tell this. I've been trying to tell the story of these people, like in the Rainbow group, like you've got to do your research, you've got to cut your own teeth, find out what works for you, and then like learn how to listen to like your OGs. Because this is the one where I was like, he's talking about this in a way I've never seen him talk. And then I start picking up that like altcoin Sherpa's talking about it. I'm like, that's a separate circle, and he's talking about, say, similar to 9K. And I was like, I know they know each other, but they're not like talking daily, or maybe you are, but it doesn't come off that way. So then I start like reaching out to my like tertiary one, which is Jared Gray with Sushi Swap. And frankly, I can't understand what he says, even though it's in English. But I gauge the tone, and I have to like, he starts going off on these protocols that's 10 levels above my head. And I'm like, okay, Jared's super excited about this. I don't know what he's saying, but like it sounds really cool. Whatever this EVM upgrade is, and it fixes all these things. I was like, okay, if I got the trifecta of these dudes talking about this, I'm gonna go hard on it. And then I started trading it around that time. What you were talking about, like the 15 cents, and it's just been like the rainbow theory stuff. The way I use it, this thing just paints repeatedly, like over and over the same setups, and the whoever's providing liquidity to it, they keep picking it up off the floor, and it's just
Yeah.
sustained so many pullbacks, and it's got cool tech behind. Like it's. I remember I told a coworker about it, and he started using it for like payments, and he's like, "Hey man, did you ever like look into how fast Say is?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, we aren't waiting for transfers." He goes, "If you click it, it's already there." He's like, "There's no." He's like, it's like beyond instant." And I was like, "Yeah, it's it's cool. Like it's not just a like it's got great memes for sure, but it's got really good tech too."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I forgot to mention that's one of the other pieces. What sold me on getting into Say is because it was positioned or sold as um, a chain that's capable of on-chain trading, and we're talking about like the DYDX is perpetual type trading, which is very high volume action. You need to have very fast settlement to make sure that trade goes in on time and can actually also handle essentially market maker algos that aren't going to get rate limited essentially by these TPSs from these slow chains. And so we're talking about this is early November of last year where people are still kind of iffy on altcoins at the time, and people were very much still kind of in bear market mindset. And so I didn't want to take too big of a risk. So I needed a narrative on these coins that I was picking that just would make safer sense with a lot of upside. And so Say was top of the list because it was positioned as a trading chain. And my thinking is that if anything has any value at all in crypto, whatever services, whatever narrative, or whatever thing you're going to put a blockchain or something on the blockchain with, the thing that's going to be always consistent and sticking around is trading itself.